As much as I criticize some of the decisions Disney has made for Star Wars since acquiring Lucasfilm, I have to give them major props for reviving interest in how they've handled the Alien franchise since their acquisition of 20th Century Fox. While I didn't hate the prequel movies, Prometheus and Alien Covenant, it was clear, and I think the mixed reviews would agree with me, that the franchise needed to shake things up a bit. This came with last year's Alien Romulus, which was heavy on the nostalgia, but did bring some new and interesting ideas to the franchise while focusing on what made the first two movies sci-fi classics. It was really a very good Force Awakens style reintroduction for the Alien franchise and a great lead-in for the new show, Alien Earth. Alien Earth is the first Alien TV series and is focusing on exploring some of the same ground Ridley Scott attempted to tackle with Prometheus and Covenant, centering on the story of the relationship and contrast between the human and synthetic characters, while also digging into some of the biological background of the titular aliens of the franchise, the Xenomorphs. This is exactly what I want to discuss in today's video, and to gauge interest in future videos within the Alien franchise. Aside from new movies and shows, the Alien expanded universe is massive, consisting of so many books, comics, video games, and of course a separate crossover franchise with The Predator. So if you're interested in more videos like this, be sure to leave a like and a comment. It really helps. Listen, times are tough right now for Star Wars YouTubers. Also, this video will include spoilers for the first 6 episodes of Alien Earth, so if you don't want to be spoiled, go watch the show and come back. I also hate to do this, but because of the content of this video, I want to avoid being age restricted, so we will need to heavily censor some of the footage shown. This is just how the platform currently is, but if you want to see an uncensored version of the video, I will be making it available to view for my patrons. So check out the Eckhart's Ladder Patreon down below. You can join for I think it's $2. So the first xenomorph and the first stage of the xenomorph life cycle is of course the egg, otherwise known as the ovomorph. Unlike most creatures, the egg of a xenomorph isn't just a vessel for a growing zygote, but instead another living creature. An ovomorph is typically laid by a queen variant of the xenomorph, which we first saw in Aliens, though this wasn't always the idea. In the original Alien, a deleted scene would have shown Brett and Dallas in the process of being cocooned and being used to make more eggs. Since the release of Aliens, this idea hasn't been revisited on screen, but still appears to be canon in some way after its inclusion in the core rulebook for the Alien role-playing game. There, it describes exactly how the process works. When isolated from a hive, a drone will collect hosts, incapacitating them by partially crushing their skulls. It will then cocoon victims in a secreted saliva resin in order to transform them into alien eggs in a process called ovomorphing. The tail inserts the necessary genetic material in order to incubate a facehugger, and thus continuing the alien's life cycle, with the process taking 24 to 36 hours to complete. While the creation, incubation, and hatching of an ovomorph only takes about 1 day, the eggs are built to last for hundreds or even possibly thousands of years. The shells are well armored, gunfire is usually not sufficient to destroy them, and even if penetrated, the eggs will exude a highly corrosive acidic blood as a defense mechanism, not unlike the fully grown xenomorph. The only effective way to sterilize an ovomorph is through the use of fire or explosives, a weakness shared by subsequent stages of the creature. As mentioned before, the ovomorph is a highly intelligent creature itself, essentially keeping the second stage of the xenomorph in stasis until a potential host is nearby, presumably to save energy. Once the egg detects a host, the top opens up, splitting in 4 sections, allowing the second stage, known as the facehugger, to emerge and latch on to its host. Now, I do have a theory. This is only a theory, but I do think it makes sense given the number of characters throughout the Alien franchise who stick their faces directly over the mysteriously dangerous alien eggs. I think when the host is detected, the egg releases some kind of pheromone which draws victims towards the ovomorph, making it more likely that the infection will occur, and also sort of screening the entire process so only compatible hosts are drawn towards the egg so that the life cycle can continue. The egg is then able to reseal itself if the host is out of reach or if it's determined to not be suitable to continue life, as once the facehugger emerges from the egg, however, the ovomorph dies. Prior to hatching, the facehugger shows zero signs of life while within the egg. The hatching process includes a transference of energy and possibly consciousness between the ovomorph and facehugger. Once hatched, the facehugger's only goal is to implant a living host with a xenomorph embryo. The facehugger is one of the most vulnerable stages of the xenomorph's life cycle. It looks like a hybrid of a spider and a crab and is about a meter tall and a half in length, with much of its size attributed to its massive tail. Despite the size of the facehugger, they are still a major threat due to their combined strength, speed, and ability to spit acid. If the name wasn't a dead giveaway, the process of implanting a host involves the creature leaping onto and securing itself to the face of the victim. The RPG's core rulebook describes it as so. The facehugger clutches its fingers around the victim's head, wraps its tail around their throat, and emits an anesthetic that renders the host unconscious before inserting its proboscis down the creature's throat. And yeah, the Alien franchise really has mastered body horror, especially with, well, the undertones of the entire process. Anyway, once a facehugger attaches itself to a host, the process of embryo implantation is practically inescapable. Any attempt to remove the facehugger by force results in the creature's tail tightening around the throat of its host and cutting into the facehugger results in the release of acidic blood. Once the facehugger successfully implants the embryo, a process which could take several hours, the creature dies and releases its host so that the embryo can develop until it's ready to emerge from the victim. In Alien Earth, we see the embryo itself and get an idea that it too is intelligent and sentient, seemingly able to communicate with fully developed xenomorphs. The show also plays with the idea that the xenomorph can also make do with living organs to develop, as we see it burrow into a still living lung and emerge in the xenomorph's next stage, known as the chest burster. The chest burster is shockingly an absolutely brutal stage, and I'm not just talking the end result. Many people assume when watching the films that the embryo kinda swims around and grows until the painful birth, but the process is even more disturbing. The still living host suffers through a mutation process, transforming their organs into the embryonic alien that, once it reaches a point of maturity, erupts from the host's chest, killing them in the process. The mutation itself is extremely painful, although some hosts feel a reassuring sense of release, also relief, once the facehugger falls off. This is another theory, but it's possible that the facehugger's anesthetic prevents the host from feeling the effects of the transformation. Nonetheless, the gestation period of the chest burster, similar to a human pregnancy, will vary somewhat depending on the host, with various factors affecting the total time. Someone with a weaker immune system will have a faster gestation period, and it's possible that they may still feel the effects of the anesthetic up until the chest burster's birth. Once the creature erupts from the host, the xenomorph has officially arrived. The creature is small in size and very, very vulnerable, but it only requires a few short hours and a good supply of raw metals and organic food in order to prepare for its metamorphosis into its next stage. This is where the life cycle differs depending on many different factors. For example, the chest burster itself is based on a mutation of DNA from the original host, so it will typically feature different physical qualities depending on the host species, allowing for different variants. Now, there are an endless number, and maybe I can do that for a future video, but I'll include a couple on screen right now. Once fed, the chest burster cocoons itself in order to develop into a young adult known as a drone. This is the most common stage of a xenomorph, and when born outside of a hive, the drones act as a solitary predator, attempting to collect victims in order to multiply their numbers by the process of ovomorphing, and thus the creation of a new hive. Once the hive begins expanding due to the presence of a queen, the drones are able to evolve into their full adult class, serving as a worker or soldier for the queen xenomorph. Now, you're probably wondering how a queen comes about, and honestly, the process there is not dissimilar to the ordinary life cycle of a xenomorph. During the process of ovomorphing, an egg can create a royal facehugger, a larger, more armored variant of the traditional facehugger, which transmits not only the queen's embryo to the host, but also a second standard embryo which serves as the queen's protector. Once the queen is brought into the picture, the xenomorphs follow her orders and are much more coordinated and dangerous than a lone drone xenomorph, despite the fact that the alien in Alien to me seems a lot more dangerous than the aliens in Aliens. The Queen, of course, is much larger and more powerful than the standard Xeno, though this is only displayed as a last resort. The Queen is meant to be relegated to the nest where she lays eggs and dispenses orders to her hive. The Queen also secretes a substance known as royal jelly, which imbues whoever ingests it with enhanced strength and stamina. Once the numbers of a hive reach to about 300, the Queen's elite soldiers are fed royal jelly and evolve into a final form of Xenomorph known as Praetorians. They are bigger than the soldier class they evolved from and act essentially as royal guards. The Alien RPG also offers this theory. If a hive loses its queen, a Praetorian can molt into a new one. If this happens before another hive invaded, the old hive can be preserved. If not, the invaders take advantage of the leaderless Xenos and claim them for their queen. This is most of what we know about the life cycle of the Xenomorph so far. There are other theories and lore which suggest an even larger caste system with potential queens growing beyond known sizes, becoming empresses, commanding multiple hives, or even queen mothers commanding the entire species. But those are things to look at for another day. The alien universe is large, it's quite varied, and we only barely scratch the surface of this world. So if you want more content about the Alien franchise, you'll have to let us know by making this video do well. Leave a like, comment down below, and of course, subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.